Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video I will show you how I made the following Christmas card using all different kinds of Fawn stuff. So I used a Ho Holiday Tiny Christmas Build a House Christmas add-on, the large cross-stitched rectangle Stackables and a stitched Hillside border from Fawn. So as you can see here, I die cut almost everything out of different sort of cardstocks. I will list everything below if I forget to mention anything, but from Fawn I used the Storm Cloud, Narwal, Chili Pepper and Sticky Notes. And then of course I have the Neenah 110 Solar White cardstock and the Lucky Clover from Gina Designs. So as you can see here, I'm using a Fawn glue tube. It's the first time that I'm using it and I definitely need to adjust my pressure when I'm adding the glue on top of items, but in this video it will get really messy and I will have to learn to deal with the glue tube. But it glues perfectly, so that's good. So I'm adhering at this moment as much as possible until I can no longer continue. On the left you see the inside for the door and the windows. It's from Sticky Notes from Fawn. Because I'm going to make a night scene this way, it looks like there is light inside of the house and outside it's all dark. So I'm using my acrylic block to let everything dry flat, and here I made a little mistake. Not really, but it was the first time that I was trying to assemble the house, and next time I would just glue on the edge of the house itself for the roof, because this way there was a lot of glue where there was no adhering, so it was a bit stupid. But then because there is like a night sky, I want the lights to be glowing when it's dark, so therefore I chose to use the Nuvo Glow Drops Banana Split, and I'm adding it here onto the light balls because I want to adhere it at the end to the card itself. I'm not adhering it first to the house and then adding the glow drops, because sometimes I messed it up and I don't want to have to do the whole house again. So setting it aside as soon as I added all the lights, and then it will dry when I'm close to the end of the card. So now it's time to stamp out my images. I'm using Memento Tuxedo black ink and I'm stamping it onto some Neenah Solar White 110 cardstock, because I'm going to color with Copics. And as you can see here, I have images from Ho Holidays and Tiny Christmas. And then it's time to color it in with my Copics. For the most part, I'm only using 2 combinations, except for the clothing of Santa. Therefore, I'm using 3 colors, but in my opinion, 2 colors are enough to create the depth that you want. So I'm starting with the lightest color, then I add the darkest color, and then I go back in with the lightest color to get a smooth blending. Now that the coloring is done, it's time to cut it out. Therefore, I'm using my Scan and Cut from Brother, and I'm leaving a white border around all the images. Next up, I can continue with adding all the images and the rest of the windows and doors to the house. So I am first trying how I am going to adhere everything, and then as soon as I'm happy with what I came up with, I start adhering everything. So this little boy is looking outside of the window, checking whether Santa is already there. And now I need to adhere the yellow sticky note cardstock. And then I decided that the little girl could be standing inside of the doorway, and I'm doing exactly the same as I did with the little boy. First adhering the little girl, and then I'm adhering the cardstock behind her that is representing the light that is coming from inside the house. I decided to wait a bit longer before adhering the lights on top of the house because I wanted to make sure that the Nuvo glow drops were really dry before I started adding it on top of the house. So next up it was time to start at my background. I wanted to make a night sky, so therefore I am using faded jeans and black Soot Distress Oxide ink. And I'm checking each time whether I have covered the whole panel that is above the snowy hill. And as soon as I'm happy, I took my distress sprayer. I've got it new and never used it before, and I decided to spritz it on top of my card panel for the first time. I didn't spritz it aside first, and that's why I have those big globs of water. That was not my intention, so I'm gonna cover it with the house as much as possible. So just for those who get a distress sprayer, spritz it first aside from your card base before going onto your panel. And then I decided to add some color onto my snowy hill, being tumbled glass in this case, and I mostly added it onto the sides. The middle part of the hill is almost completely white. And then I could start adhering all the pieces onto my panel using again the long Fawn glue tube. And then for the house I decided to use some foam tape to lift it from the panel. When placing it on top of the panel, I made sure to cover as much of the big splatters as possible. And then I removed the release paper from the back of the foam tape and adhered it for sure. For Santa, I'm using thin foam squares to adhere it. I really love the thin foam squares because it raises the person or the image that you are working with, but not that high. So now I have multiple layers in this card because of the foam tape, which is a bit bigger. And then I remembered that I had forgotten to stamp my sentiment out, so I'm lining it up and I am inking it up using faded jeans. And then I made sure that there was no smudging around it so that my Santa or my house wouldn't get inked up, because this would be easier if it was done first, but I forgot. And now it's time to adhere my lights. So I'm checking first where I should add it, and then I'm taking again my long Fawn glue tube. And I'm using my reverse tweezers to help me as well. Being really careful this time to not add too much glue. I'm trying to avoid touching the lights too much because of course it's sort of dry, but we all know that Nuvo drops need to dry a lot longer before it's really stiff. So I'm avoiding pressure onto the light globes. And then I decided to add some snow using the Nuvo Crystal Drops Simply White, and I'm scattering it around on the background in different sizes. After adding the snow, I decided to add some glossy accents from Ranger onto the bow at the door, and then I also decided to add some Nuvo Glitter Drops White Blizzard onto the coat and the head of Santa. And that finishes off my card. I hope you like this design, the scenery and the stuff I used to add some details. If you have any questions, please tell me, let me know what you think, and hopefully I will see you next time. Bye!